Welcome back. Get this. China is now claiming that there's potential security risks associated with the Nvidia H20 chip. Weeks after the White House reversed a ban on the export of that chip, Beijing's Cyberspace Administration apparently worried that those chips will be equipped with tracking functions. Meanwhile, the U.S.-China trade truce still in place ahead of the August 12th deadline. President Trump remaining optimistic about a more permanent agreement with Beijing. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer leading 2 days of talks in Sweden with Chinese officials. Here's Scott Bessent on how it went.
The discussion centered on the two economies. We had a very in-depth report on them, on the Chinese economy. We gave a very detailed report on the U.S. economy. We expressed our concern about Chinese overcapacity globally and what that might mean. We expressed our concern for their purchases of sanctioned Iranian oil, of which they buy about 90%. We also expressed our regret that we believe that they had sold Russia about $15 billion of dual-use technologies. But the overall tone of the meetings was very constructive.
President Trump, meanwhile, says he's not seeking a meeting with Xi Jinping, although he does expect a meeting to happen before the end of the year. Joining me now is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Interesting commentary from China on the H20 chips right now on Nvidia.
Well, what China's trying to do is damage Nvidia's reputation. And it's because, you know, Nvidia sells chips around the world. So if I were President Trump, I would say, well, if you've got concerns with our chips, we're just not going to sell them to you. I think we need to call these guys bluffs. We do that, the Chinese will back down. And by the way, in general, the Chinese need to respect us. Once they do that, then all these other things, trade, whatever, they sort of fall into line.
Well, that's right. And, you know, it's funny because that's all China does in terms of the United States, is surveilling the U.S. and trying to track the U.S. So they're basically projecting what they do already.
Oh, exactly. I mean, all of these security cameras that we buy from China, these port cranes, all of them have these tracking devices, and they're surveilling us. They're drones, they're DJI drones. They're sending all this information about American streets, American backyards. Yeah. I mean, this is exactly what they're doing. They know more about our country than we do.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, the U.S. has concerns over its Beijing's trade controls, including a potential expansion of power by China in the Panama Canal, should BlackRock and CK Hutchins not reach a deal. You know that this deal has been in place for some time, but the Chinese are trying to stop it. The deadline for the Chinese company to sell its ports passed. That was July 27th. And President Trump told me back in March his concerns about growing Chinese influence at the Panama Canal. Watch this.
It was a China-based company. I'd much rather deal with BlackRock than a China-based company. And BlackRock is fine. I knew they were doing that. I was totally okay with it.
And when you go through the Panama Canal,
makes it easier.
Give us a sense of how China has dominated.
The Carter administration gave the Panama Canal for $1, gave the Panama Canal to Panama for no reason. They had a little demonstration of a few people, and he gave it. It's the most expensive thing we've ever built in the history of our country, relatively, and it does great. And we shouldn't have given it. We should have never given it. But we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama. And now Panama has gone out and essentially ceded it to China. And until they ripped all the signs down about a week ago, when they saw that I was serious about this, you know, most of the signs were written in Chinese. They were all Chinese all over the place. That wasn't the deal. We're taking the Panama Canal back.
I mean, that's an important point, that all the signs around the Panama Canal are in Chinese. That tells you the kind of dominance that China has. And even till this day, it's trying to stop this deal with BlackRock.
Yes, it is. And what they're trying to do is to substitute Hutchison, which is a Hong Kong company, which they control, with COSCO, China Ocean Shipping, which is a Chinese state-owned operation, which they control even more than Hutchison. So if they were to put COSCO at those two ports in the Panama Canal, this would be a real setback for us. And I'm sure President Trump is not going to permit that.
Well, how's he going to stop it? I mean, the deadline passed for this deal to happen.
Well, there's a couple ways. One of them is that Hutchison's concessions in the Panama Canal are being challenged in court as being unconstitutional. In 2021, they had a 25-year extension for both of those concessions. You know, we should be weighing in on that court case and taking those two port operations away, because those are the two most critical of those 199 berths that we're talking about in the BlackRock deal.
Yeah, it's a really important point that you make, Gordon. Now, what about this? There is a new deadly drug coming mostly from China. It is said to be killing hundreds of Americans every year. This new drug is called nitazines. Nitazines, a class of extremely potent synthetic opioids emerging in illicit drug markets. Authorities are warning it's more deadly than fentanyl. Fentanyl has already killed tens of thousands of Americans, 100,000 Americans last year. In 2023, more than 300 Americans died of nitazine overdoses. It's not an overdose, it's a poisoning, up from just 27 deaths in 2020. The same year, over 72,000 Americans died of all synthetic opioid poisonings, which included fentanyl. Gordon, you know, it's really not an overdose, because people who are taking this, they don't understand what they're taking.
You know, as you point out,
this is a poisoning from China.
We shouldn't, as you point out, we shouldn't be talking about overdoses. We shouldn't be talking about deaths. We should be talking about murders. Nobody could design fentanyl or the nitazines. They couldn't manufacture it. They couldn't transport it. They couldn't export it through the ports in China without a near total surveillance state knowing what's going on. So, of course, the Communist Party knows what's going on. It approves of it. And we should be talking in clear terms. Now, people may say, well, if you do that, we won't get a trade deal. I think it's actually the opposite. Once you show the Chinese you're not afraid of them, then they back down. Yeah. And as Confucius said, the most important thing is you got to rectify names. You got to call things by their proper names. These aren't deaths. These are murders.
Well, I mean, the president has talked a lot about non-trading barriers when he's doing trade deals. So this is one of those non-trading barriers. Chinese Communist Party surveillance on America. Chinese Communist Party pushing these illicit, deadly drugs into America. These things have to stop. That's why I keep saying, how do you negotiate with somebody on the other side of a deal who you know is a bad actor?
Yeah, and you got to back them down. You know, one thing about fentanyl that we know, this is not demand-driven. This is supply-driven. And China's supplying this not only through Mexico, but also through Canada. And, you know, we need to have these conversations with Ottawa, and they've got to be candid, because the Canadian people, they say, oh, Trump's bad. No, Trump is talking about some really serious threats that Canada allows to be on their soil. The world's biggest fentanyl lab was not in China, wasn't in Mexico. Maria, it was in Vancouver.
Wow.
And the Canadian people need to know this, because they say, oh, Trump's bad. No. Trump is raising really important issues.
For sure. Gordon, great to see you. Thanks so much. Gordon Chang.